If this is not hypocrisy, then I don't know what it is. Having been exposed, John Boadu, my friend, and General Secretary of the MPP, and the MPP shamelessly called a press conference to accuse the NDC for a crime that they, the MPP, committed, where there was overwhelming evidence. We wish to assure the people of Ghana that we shall pursue this matter to its logical conclusion. We are calling on the Electoral Commission to thoroughly investigate how persons whose eligibilities were challenged found their ways of obtaining their voter ID cards without going through the adjudication process. We are calling for the prosecution of all the MPP and EC officials who connived to commit this grievous crime. The names of all the 66 Ivorians must be deleted from the register immediately. Now, I come to the anomalies in registration figures from the Electoral Commission. Ghanaians will recall that during the registration exercise, we had cause to draw the attention of the Electoral Commission of wrong registration figures they posted in the Ashanti region and other places. These deliberate manipulation of figures, which is being described as mistakes, would not have been noticed but for the vigilance of our agents and executives across the country. The phenomenon is not only unacceptable, but very indicting on the Electoral Commission. Now, we have what we call the NDC data versus EC data. Ladies and gentlemen, we have discovered discrepancies in the data we collated and that of the EC, some of which the EC has referred to as mistakes emanating from reports submitted by their officers from the regions. Interestingly, while these mistakes are over-reporting figures in our opponents' strongholds, they are under-reporting figures in ours. In the Ashanti region, for instance, the EC has so far reduced figures they initially published by over 40,000 following our diligence. There are more corrections to be made to the Ashanti figures that we shall engage the Electoral Commission to correct the anomalies. In the OT region, the EC underreported the figures by 10,127 at the end of phase 2. We drew the attention of the EC, but they continued to publish the wrong figures. At the end of phase 4, the EC underpublished OT figures by 14,124. So EC had 22,109, and NDC had 226,109, and the NDC had 240,233. Our continuous engagement with the regional EC office has resulted in a current deficit of 1,079. So as we engage them and draw their attention, but there's still a deficit as at the end of phase 6. We expect nothing short of total correction of the figures from OT, because we are all getting the figures from the same source. Start of day, end of day, we take it, we scan it, we do the analysis, we check. So at the end of the day, we must all get the same results. And this is simple addition. It's not any multiplication or any strange equation. Simple. 100 people registered here today, the following day 70 people registered, the following day 200 people, the following day, you add all up, you must all get the same thing. So we are not going to take any shenanigans from anybody. Again, the EC has been consistently inconsistent with the figures they have put out through let the citizens know media encounters. On July 10th, 2020, the EC put out a figure of 3,442,954, comprising 2,264,207 for the first 6 days, and 361,030, 418,610, 399,107 for the 7th, 8th, and 9th days, respectively. However, on July 28th, 2020, the EC put out 2,202,4 405 for the first 6 days, 61,802 less than what was initially reported for the same period. Also, data collected for the 7th, 8th, and 9th day were reported differently. I'm sure some of you have it. Yes, so you have to project it. So if you look at the figures, it's there. You have the figure for phase 1, 10th of July. You have figure for 28th of July. You have the figure for 7th of August. You go to phase 2, 10th of July is not applicable. But you look at 28th July and 7th of August, you see that there are differences. And these are the EC's own figures. So we did analysis of our figures and EC's figures, and then the EC's figures on different dates, 10th of July, 28th of July, 7th of August. And in all this, there were discrepancies. On election day, if they come and give us discrepant figures, what do you think will happen in this country? So they need to sit up. The above table shows how the same commission reported figures for the first phases differently on different dates. Again, evidence available to us shows that in the Afriyie Ankrah East constituency, the registration exercise at the district office of the EC, which was reserved for the aged and persons with disabilities, was used to register minors. You have that, you have the photos. Yes, show them. We have and then again, we have credible and incontrovertible evidence that the district electoral officer for Secretary South, by name Madam Emilia Anderson, applied to the MP, the sitting member of parliament who is an MPP MP, in a letter dated 7th March 2020 for financial assistance of an amount of 14,000 cedis to support her in pursuing a master's degree program at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So while registration was going on, the officer was applying to the sitting MP for support, 14,000. We have the letter. Is there? Paper Nola, have you seen it? Honorable Member of Parliament, Afriyie Ankrah East, Ashanti Region. Dear Madam, application for financial assistance. I humbly approach your good office to come to my aid by supporting me financially to pay my fees of 14,000 to pursue my master's program in MPA Public Administration at KM University. I enclose the admission letter and fees for your necessary action. Thank you for your cooperation and something. And then sign. Is there? Is your official? This is what we have been able to find out. How many more of this haven't we found out? We are by this medium calling on the EC to investigate this conduct of the electoral officer in question and take the necessary disciplinary action against her, since this act compromises her independence and brings the name of the EC into disrepute. In conclusion, we wish to once again commend all Ghanaians for their resilience, commitment, and fortitude throughout the registration exercise in the face of the violence, intimidation, brutalities, attacks, and the risk of COVID-19 infections. And unfortunately, 2 people have lost their lives. Having endured all these shenanigans, in order to get your names onto the voters register, we are encouraging you to check during the exhibition of the register to ensure that your names are in the register in order not to be disenfranchised on the 7th of December 2020. With the same vigilance and enthusiasm that we monitored the registration exercise, we must remain even more vigilant in the deduplication, exhibition, balloting, and most especially protecting our ballots on the 7th of December. Thank you very much, and God bless us all. So now, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll use this opportunity to also ask if there's anyone with any question. Okay, so Israel, please kindly come forward. If there's any question, kindly come forward and then have the opportunity of asking. And let the cameras also capture you asking the question. That's why I want you to be in front. So use the microphone.
My name is Afriyie Ankrah, and I work for the Transition.
A minute, please. If there's any other question, because of time, you can also move forward so that it will just flow in that order. Thank you.
So I said, my name is Afriyie Ankrah, and I work with the Transition. Honorable Mr. Afriyie Ankrah, the call for an independent body to probe the figures 2008. My question to you is, what is the nature of this independent body you are calling for? Is it a bipartisan body, especially where the NDC doesn't seem to trust the NPP? Would you be open to inviting bodies that are very credible in terms of elections, such as CED, such as CODEO, and some of those other institutions that over the years have shown their credibility when it comes to election coverage? Thank you.
Next.
My name is Jesse Wilson. I work for the Commission Super. It seems you didn't mention the incident that occurred at Doma West, where it was reported that the sitting MP driver shot 2 people. Why is that so?
Since you are having the second bite, it means that there's no other question, so that one will be the last one, if that is fair. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Afriyie Ankrah mentioned that consistently the EC has over-reported figures in the strongholds of the NPP and under-reported figures in the strongholds of the NDC. Now, I find it quite strange that it is the NDC that seems to be bringing up some of these allegations. Now, where you have NDC agents and MPP agents at the same registration center, why do you think that the NPP will not join you in ensuring that what you are saying is true? All of us can put pressure on the EC to resolve this particular issue. Because on election day, even when you over-report an electoral results, let's say by 1 or you under-report by 2, it has a tendency to create a lot of problems. So, are you reaching out to the NPP so they see the danger ahead, so all of us can rescue this country and sit there?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Nanaya, his first question was the nature of the independent entity we are talking about. Is subject to discussion, but if you recall, during the Supreme Court hearings, private entities such as Ernst & Young, Pricewaterhouse, there are so many independent audit firms of international repute who will not sell their reputation for a song. That can be invited to do this audit so that we can have some quality assurance and have the satisfaction that everything is being done above board. Because unfortunately, the current EC has not conducted itself very well. They themselves, through their actions and their deeds and their acts of commission and omission, have eroded whatever credibility that they had in the past. And by adopting an ENTOBR and not listening to anybody's input, even from chiefs and House of Chiefs and other credible civil society, they have created a very belligerent and very arrogant posturing. So it's difficult for us to trust them. I will not trust them. On the allegations of the over and under reporting, why is only the NDC complaining? It would have been good if our brothers on the other side also complained, but evidently it will be to their benefit. So naturally, that is why you see that the over reporting is in our strongholds, and then the under reporting is in, vice versa. So whichever way you look at it, if it is over-reported on one hand, it benefits them. If it's under-reported on the other hand, it still benefits them. But you would have expected that honest, sincere people who just believe in the sustenance of our democracy would have insisted on the right thing, no matter who it benefits. But here we are. Mr. Kumson, I said we did not talk about the killing by the driver of the sitting MP. Well, I mean, we talked about 2 people dying. One of them is the Silas gentleman who was stabbed in Banda by thugs who had been arrested the previous day, and they were released on orders from above, and then the second day they mounted a barrier and then stabbed this young man. The second is the guy who died as a result of this gunshot. But because this press conference is not specifically on the violence, so we talked about the violence in general and cited the 2 people who died. I believe that we're going to deal with the issue of violence in the forthcoming elections, because there is every indication that that has become one of the tools in the arsenal of this failing government, and they would want to deploy violence. They did it in Ayawaso West. They told us it was a dress rehearsal, and they've done it in the registration. So one should expect that they will try to do it during the actual the voting exercise, and that is why we cannot be indifferent, you know, and the civil society groups that are keeping quiet. I keep telling people that nobody's name is written on a bullet. There's something called a stray bullet. When it comes, it hasn't got anybody's name written on it, and if we don't speak up and ensure that these things stop, you'd never know who will be caught on the wrong end of the barrel on election day. So it's important that we speak out, civil society speak out, you, the media, you are actually the ones who should speak out more. You are in the first line of action, because you are on the ground. When the guns start firing, you want to capture it for your news. You can be shot, or you can be beaten for filming it. It's been happening. Some of your friends, multimedia, some of them haven't even recovered Emmanuel Ante or so. So you have a responsibility to keep speaking. And if it is something that has been done wrong by the NDC, say it is the NDC, Mr. X or Mr. Y who has done it, and let him be held accountable. If it's been done by the MPP, say it is this Mr. XYZ who did it by the MPP, and let him be held accountable. This business of generalization and putting everybody in a box, and the political parties, you know, it's a very subtle way of justifying the wrong and equalizing it. If people people who are known MPP thugs go and beat up people, and then you come on there and say, and the political parties and was it the NDC that did it? We know the people who did it, and we know where they are coming from. Do we have AK-47s? Why can't we be forthright and truthful and speak the truth and shame them? But we generalize, we are advising all political parties. The other time I had to call a friend in one of the media houses. They said they were launching a campaign against violence. And meanwhile, in all the violence, and the 2 parties, who in this, which NDC person in this registration has been carrying AK-47 and has been beating people? So we should stop the generalization and say the truth. That's the only way we can move forward as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with this, I think we will draw down the curtains. Thank you for coming. For the media, just wait behind. We'll get back to you. Thank you.